Okay, so while these are heating in the forge, there's a couple of things I want to mention. First of all, the tongs that I am making are for a right-handed smith. I'm a right-handed smith, ergo I make left-handed tongs. And I know that sounds screwy, but let me explain. So, because I'm a right-handed smith, I hammer with my right hand, and I generally hold work with my left hand. So I want my tongs to fit in my left hand. And really, the only sort of difference with a right hand and a left hand tong is that you want, if you're holding these sort of flat, you want the bit to skew to the left. And what that does is that puts the this rein, the sort of the forward tong rein, out in front a little bit of this one. So when you're holding them in your left hand, they tend to sit vertically. It's a minor thing. If you screw it up, it's not really that big a deal. It's just something to be aware of. Your tongs will probably still work. I generally put a bit of an offset in my handles anyway, so that they're somewhat ambidextrous. So, I've got these heating in the fire. I'm going to start with a really nice high heat. This will probably just look like a yellowish blur on the camera. So be it. Up once I finish, so you can see the progress I made as it's kind of in the descending heats of it. So I basically want to bring these up to, a nice, like, lemon yellow heat, almost, what we would call like a forge welding temperature, just because the steel is going to move very quickly and very efficiently at that temperature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my mark and just butt the end of that up to it, and then I'm going to bracket that down to a 45-degree angle and just kind of beat the edge of the anvil into it. And I'm going to stop when I get to a little shy of halfway. And I like to taper these a little bit. I'm going to forge in the swell that I got. And just taper them a bit. I find they get into the fire a little bit more easily if they have a smidge of taper on them, and I'll probably even go a little bit more than that, but those get used to be reheated. Next one, same thing. Find my mark. Just a little bit. Not a bad idea to work these in tandem so that you can compare periodically one to the other and make sure that they're reasonably well matched. Probably slightly easier to do if you have a propane forge, but with a little practice, it should do you just fine. draw those out just a little bit more, kind of keep everything nice and crisp, and then I'm going to make my second shoulder. So the way that I did that, set that shoulder in, was with what's called a half-face blow. I sort of used the edge of the anvil like a fuller to sort of make an indentation in that metal, and then I sort of hung my hammer face over the anvil and squished that material down, and that created that little shoulder. Make these kind of dainty. I saw a pair that Peter Ross had that he was using for holding the ward boxes for his crab locks that I really liked. So I think I'm going to make this one kind of like that. So there's my shoulder, and there's my nice long sort of tapered jaw. Let's see if we can get the other one to match. Keep everything nice and crisp. The initial part of your heat is for forging. The latter part of your heat is for blanishing, which is just kind of hammer polishing. Okay, so those look pretty good. Remember, so far the only measurement that I've taken so far is, well, and it's not even really a measurement, it's just an arbitrary distance, is this little mark that I made on my anvil. And the important thing is just that that starting spot be the same. Everything else is just kind of practice and by eye. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is lay in my second shoulder. I'm going to do that by rotating these. So there's my first shoulder. I did that at the near side of the anvil. I'm going to do my second shoulder at the far side of the anvil, and I'm going to do it at a 45-degree angle. I'm not going to do it square. I'm going to cant that out like that, and that's going to make a little web of metal that sort of transfers into the boss, and that'll actually end up giving me a much stronger tong in the end. So you can see that here. You can see that that's not straight. It kind of fades in, or tapers into the boss area. So it's just that little bit right there. And remember what I was saying earlier about right and left-handed tongs. Because I am a right-handed smith, my tongs skew to the left. So when I bring those out of the fire, I'm going to turn it a quarter of a turn counterclockwise. Okay? So a quarter of a turn counterclockwise, so that my bit skews to the left. There's that joggle bend, and it's on the left side of my ring. If you happen to be left-handed, you might want to make your tongs reverse. Again, I want a nice high heat. Right now, I have my tongs, my sort of what's going to be the boss area of my tong, in kind of the hot spot of my fire. I'm reaching through the hottest spot of my fire with the bits. Those bits are fairly thin, fairly dainty, so I'm going to protect them by leaving them sort of in the cooler spot of the fire. I really want to concentrate my heat right in that boss area. So, by the way, a little Tong nomenclature for you. This is called the bit, this is called the boss, this is called the rain, and that is the rivet. Important to constantly keep your fire when you're working with coal. You want to have green coal, which is unburned coal, sort of burning, or rather sort of just smoldering on the side of your fire, so that once it coats up, once it forms that nice neutral heat, once it stops giving off a lot of smoke and flame, you can then sort of push it onto your fire. It's a very clean, very hot fuel. We're getting close here. Oh yeah, that looks good. Okay, so once again, I want to skew left and then do this at about a 45-degree angle. And it's kind of just like what I was doing before, where I find a reasonably sharp edge on my anvil, which looks like about right there. I'm just going to set that shoulder hammer back from it a bit. Okay, so you see there's my 45 coming back. There's my boss area and my bit. And just as that's cooling a little bit, I'm just going to take a minute and just kind of keep that nice and true. That looks good. Okay, so same thing with the other one. Skewing left, sharp spot on the anvil, 45-degree angle. Everything nice and crisp and beautiful, so you don't have to go back and futz with it too much. Let's see how that looks. Just a real quick comparison. Not too shabby. Yep. Those should go together pretty well. By the way, I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but you make, well, if you're making this style of tong, you want to make your bits identical, because not mirror images of each other, because they're going to lap one on top of the other, and that's how you're going to get, that offset. So don't make your bits mirror images, or your tongs won't work. All right, so my first shoulder I set at the near side of the anvil, and it was 90 degrees to the edge of the anvil. My second shoulder I set at 45 degrees to the edge of the anvil, and I did it on the far side. And I rotated my tongs a quarter turn counterclockwise. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate it to set down my third shoulder. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to rotate my tong bit another 45 degrees, another quarter turn, and set down my third shoulder. And you could measure this if you feel uncomfortable. I'm just going to go ahead and eyeball it. Basically what I'm looking for is to leave, you know, kind of roughly a square of material for my boss. So if you can imagine starting there and going to about there, you know, that's going to be the material that's going to be my boss. Okay, so I'm going to set down my third shoulder kind of right there, and you can see how pretty quickly they start resembling a pair of tongs. There's not enough material here to draw out the blades. You're actually probably wrong because there's a substantial amount of material there. However, I'm not going to draw out all of that material. I'm going to forge weld some 3/8 round bar onto my little ring stubs, which I'm going to cut off here. And that's the way that I make most of my tongs. Much of what I do is fairly lightweight, you know, little projects, so I don't use really super heavy-duty tongs. If I were doing a lot more hammers and axes, I would probably spend some time making larger, more robust mono steel, or possibly even 40x40, 50x60 tongs. But for now, these will suit me just fine. I set down my third shoulder right about there. Once again, using a half-face blow. And I'm going to go back and just kind of do all my other things, every other piece of this operation up. Alright, so you can see that that sort of starts my joggle. Joggle is just a double offset. My joggle bend for my bit into my, my rein into my bit. The last thing that I'm going to do here is just knock off those corners and sort of force this into more of a round shape. So this one's getting a little cold, so I'll do it to the next one, come back and do it to this one. Using the end of my piece to just kind of bring everything back into true, and then I'm gonna just kind of knock off those corners. Spread that boss just a little bit. That's looking good. Pretty quickly how they start to take shape. This could use just a smidge more truing up, so go ahead and do that. Get a little heat into it first, though. Accentuate that round shape. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and cut these off and start them in anticipation for forge welding on my rain material. Yeah, I like the way those look a lot. So, you know, once again, you can measure this, and perhaps I will. It'll help that transition area be a little bit more consistent. So just, I'm going to take it, again, just kind of an arbitrary measurement from the base of my boss. Just, I'm going to come down, I don't know, you know, 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. And pair that material with it. About safety, you never want to leave your hardy tool in the anvil when you're not using it, especially if you're like me and you prefer your horn facing left, because it puts your hand very much in the danger zone. To leave a little web of material. I don't try to hammer all the way through that bar because it takes my hardy tool and there's a bunch of dents in my hammer face. Both of which are things I would like to avoid. So same thing, come back, find my measurement. Now I'm using positive pressure as I'm cutting here. That means that I'm actually using, I'm pushing down with my left hand to keep the work from bouncing around too much. If you don't do that, there's a pretty good chance you'll end up with multiple sort of cut marks there, which is no bueno. Alright, so I'm just gonna, over the horn of the anvil, forge out that material a little bit in anticipation of my scarf. And that's probably about all I'll have time for today. I basically ripped off my scarf from people who are a lot better at it than I am, such as Mark Asprey and Bob Valentine. And basically, I want my scarf to be something like that. Okay, so I've got a lot of mass there, and then I've got just a little sort of registration point, so that when I have the opposite scarf, or rather the same scarf, turned over on my rain material, those are made up nicely, and I have plenty of meat to sort of squish into my forge weld. I'm going to start just by moving some of that material out of there. Oh, and I want to put the belly, I call this part the belly and this part the back. I want to put the belly of my forge weld on the same side as my second shoulder. It'll, just trust me on this, it'll help it not get in the way when you go to forge weld your reins on. On my next heat, I'm just going to draw a really sort of steep point on that material, and that will set me up for making my scarf. Second shoulder is going down, but it's not on the anvil. Just start with a really steep kind of three-sided point. And then I'm just going to make a little offset. I'm going to find a little sharp edge on my anvil over here. Do just a very small shoulder. That'll create that little registration point. You can see there's my shape, there's my scarf. So when that goes together with the, a similar shape on the rein, that will blend very, very nicely. And let's see, while this is still hot, I'm going to go ahead and wire brush that a bit and just get a little flux on it. I just use straight up 20 Mule Team borax, nothing fancy. Anhydrous. Same stuff you use as laundry booster. Well, I don't, but I guess some people do. again. Do a steep little three-sided point. Make that little registration mark. That just sets you up real well. Obviously, these aren't going together, but they could. You can see how nice those would fit together. Alright, so at this point, I'm going to move on to reins. And I'm going to leave it there so that I am not late for my birthday dinner.